Coming to you live from the Keystone State, it is the Duke and Dutch Show.
Yeah, I like it.
Today, we've got a plethora of news for you. From illegal aliens invading your children's school, to Trump fulfilling campaign promises with taxes on tips, or no taxes on tips.
Yeah.
To U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, slapping around Democratic shill Tim Van Hollen in his love for illegal El Salvadorian migrants. But first, the scandal of the month. Joe Biden in his cognitive decline. Who knew? Who did not?
Who knew? Not me. I didn't know.
Joining me today is my co-host, Duke. Duke, how you doing?
Not bad. That was a great intro. I like it.
I kind of fumbled over it a little bit, but it was all right.
It's a work in progress.
If we
what would you say inspires that voice? That intro?
If you could get some glass, it's like anybody who does a radio show. If you get like some glass breaking or something, or like a cat going, then it'd be good. Yeah. Anyway, but like I did say in the intro, we got I don't know, not a super long thing, but we got a lot of interesting topics to get into. Firstly, probably the biggest scandal of the month, it might be the biggest scandal of the past couple of years, is the declining state of former President Joe Biden. Now, this just came out from CNN yesterday, and this is pretty unprecedented, and they're going to explain to you how somehow at Biden, at his advanced stage, even though we heard from last show that apparently prostate cancer will affect 1 in 8 men in America, I believe is this statistic, right? I believe that's what they said. And yet,
I believe so, yeah.
For some reason, Joe Biden has not been screened for this, evidently, since 2014, even though he has the best doctors in the world.
A Biden spokesperson tells me that former President Joe Biden, his last known PSA, which is a screening that could be used for prostate cancer, was conducted in 2014, and that he was never diagnosed with cancer before the Friday diagnosis that was handed from his doctor.
I had one like 7 years ago. I had one apparently more recently than President 80-year-old Biden. 80 whatever.
Yeah, it definitely is crazy. It's definitely kind of alarming when you, like, I don't know, it's just
like literally I had one 7 years ago because it's better to check. I had no other reason besides it's better to check. My doctor recommended me do it, but I guess his doctors weren't recommending him to do it.
They don't have that good of doctors at the White House, so I hear they're normally pretty lazy. So
that checks out.
Now, to give you a bit of a background, the PSA test checks the blood for levels of a protein called prostate-specific antigen that might indicate the presence of prostate cancer. Many medical associations say that whether to have this test is something that's usually determined between a patient and their doctor, and independent experts who have reviewed some screening studies for the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force recommend against screening for prostate cancer for men 70 and older. So in 2014, Biden would have been in that 71, 72 age range. Now, this new disclosure from Biden's spokesperson comes as President Donald Trump and some of his allies have questioned why Biden's cancer diagnosis was not revealed earlier. On Friday, Biden received that diagnosis of prostate cancer, which has spread to his bones. His office disclosed that on Sunday, and now they are providing a bit more background into what some of his previous screening has been like, saying that last PSA, the last known PSA, was in 2014 when he was vice president.
Well, how could that be? Because I think they have it on record that they say Bush, Obama, and Trump have all had this PSA thing because they're, all within the age range. I don't know if the age range is 70. I actually heard they recommended, I think, every 5 years for men above 40, which all of them would have fallen into. I know Bush was in his 50s. Trump obviously was in his 70s. But, Obama was probably in his later 40s, mid 40s. But, this doesn't make a whole lot.
What would be the reasoning to not check? I don't understand. I heard them say that, studies found that but what would be the reasoning to not check?
I would think because you don't want something to be found out that you probably already know about. That's what I would think.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going back to 2014.
What medical reason would there be to not check?
This is going back to 2014. So he still had the White House doctors then because he was vice president at the time.
Yeah.
So I think this is, I don't know. This doesn't make any sense to me.
All right, Arlette, stay with us. I want to discuss this with our panel. Jamie Gangel, we're getting this news in it. It was 2014, the last time he was tested. And yes, there are these medical guidelines recommended against testing age 70 and up, but he was president of the United States. I find it very surprising.
I think most people find it very, very surprising. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And, you know, he's not the only one asking questions. This has nothing to do with the cancer diagnosis, but this is a short clip from Tucker Carlson stating that Biden's sister back in 2019 didn't think he should run for president because she suspected that he might have Parkinson's. So this cognitive decline that they're pushing out, or this stutter, which everyone's always like, oh, no, he had a stutter, which I don't believe because I don't see any clips, even if you go back 10 years, even if you go back to 2014, 2015, I don't see anything where he has a stutter. That just developed, I guess, when he was, 75 years old. But yeah, this is from his sister.
His sister complained, Val complained, as a fact, in 2019 that he should not be running for president because he's got cognitive Parkinson's or whatever. He had a cognitive decline, and it's mean. And Jill was pushing it, and Jill was saying he needs to do this to work out his grief from Beau's death. So I know them.
Yeah, so that's so obviously there were people around him that raised that they raised this concern, I'm sure, and it's like a lot of people around him also just said no, we'll just ignore it.
Yep.
But we're gonna move on here. That's as President Trump is going to respond to it now, because now President Trump wants answers, and I think honestly the American people are also owed answers. How deep was this cover-up? Who was covering? Was it like literally? Was it everybody on this campaign staff was covering up this mental decline?
I mean, that's what it sounds like.
Did they choosingly not, want to screen him for cancer tests just in case they had it? Did they already know he had it? Because from what the doctors have said beforehand, if this is like metastasized into his bones already, it's already at stage 4. And prostate cancer, I know he says it has an aggressive form, and I'm not a cancer expert, but they do say that this should have been caught way, way earlier, especially if you're the president of the United States. You're getting screenings all the time.
Given to everybody, but it's given just about. And it takes a long time to get to that situation. Now, I think, to get to a stage 9, I think that if you take a look, it's the same doctor that said that Joe was cognitively fine. There was nothing wrong with him. Well, he said, if it's the same doctor, he said there was nothing wrong there. And that's being proven to be a sad situation. And the auto pen is becoming a very big deal. The auto pen is becoming a big deal.
Auto
because
pen.
It seems like that maybe was the president who ever operated the auto pen. But when they say that was not good, they all.
Yeah, I got a whole article on the auto pen coming up, because now that is the concern. Who signed all these presidential pardons? Who signed all these? Who signed all the executive orders?
Let's not get sidetracked. We'll talk about that later. Let's not get sidetracked.
So you have to look, and you have to say that the test was not so good either. In other words, there are things going on that the public wasn't informed, and I think somebody's going to have to speak to his doctor if it's the same, or even if it's 2 separate doctors. Why wasn't the cognitive ability? Why wasn't that discussed? And I think the doctor said he's just fine, and it's turned out given to everybody, but it's given.
Yeah, it's turned out he's not fine. Like I said, I got a whole. This is such an interesting clip right here. I have a whole article speaking to this, and what people are really concerned about with the auto pen is that, yeah, we don't know exactly who was signing it. It appears, the internet sleuths say it appears to be a different type of signature than what Biden was used to. Now, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, or maybe he just signed it differently for the auto pen, but
Either way, the point is somebody else was signing for him, under him.
that's what's alleged. We don't know that for a fact, but yeah. I mean, it could be, for sure.
I mean, if anything, at the very least, did he understand what he was signing? And I think that's pretty safe to say no. He definitely would not have been in a state to understand what he was signing.
Again, we don't really know the specifics of the extent of this cognitive decline, but it's very clear.
It's all assumption.
Yeah, it's very clear it was covered up. All right, let's see. Trump claims treasonous thugs took advantage of Biden's mental decline to open borders, wanted to destroy our country. President Trump claimed that treasonous thugs in former President Joe Biden's administration allegedly took advantage of his predecessor's cognitive impairment in the White House. Trump alleged that Biden never wanted open borders or for criminals to flow into our country, but the ideas were from his allies who wanted to destroy the U.S. This is treason at the highest level, Trump wrote on Truth Social on Tuesday. It was the people that knew he was cognitively impaired and that took over the auto pen, Trump wrote. They stole the presidency of the United States and put us in great danger. Trump is never going to let go of that 2020 loss. It'll never happen, but maybe he shouldn't. I don't know. Maybe he is right about that. Now, listen, I think Trump is actually giving a lot of, I don't know, credence, I would say, to Biden here. Let's be honest. Joe Biden is a puppet. He wanted to be a president. He was a puppet president, and he's been puppeted around for, years and years on stage now. If you go back to even the 2012 interview when him and Obama were running for a second term as, president and VP, he was against gay marriage. And obviously in the past 5-10 years, he's done a complete 180 on that, but not to the point that he said, well, listen, I reevaluated my position and I think I was wrong. It's that, no, he never said any of those things. That never happened. In fact, he has stories going back as far of when he was like a boy in Delaware and he's watching two men kissing on the sidewalk and his father's, it's simple, Joe. They love each other. Well, that's a very different story if you're going back 50 years from the story you're giving now. That you're saying, oh, well, now I've always thought that, but what about 10 years ago? You didn't agree with gay marriage then, now you agree with it because that's the way your party is shifting. This guy, I don't know, I think Trump gives him too much credit. I think he was probably, taken advantage of by some people, but he's also a hack. He's a total fucking hack.
Another typical political puppet.
Biden's recent diagnosis of an aggressive form of prostate cancer and Tuesday's release of Original Sin by Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson shined a new spotlight on the retired politician. Trump supported Biden's record and said the former senator would not have allowed several of the border policies to pass. And I don't know too much about that. That might be true, though. I never heard Biden really he's known for what? The 1994 crime bill. He's not really, I know Obama was deporter in chief. Obama has deported more people from the country than anybody has. So it would be very surprising. I can see where Trump's coming from here anyway. I can see that. But the Joe Biden that everybody knew would never allow drug dealers, gang members, and the mentally insane to come into our country totally unchecked and unvetted. All anyone has to do is look up his record. Well, I would say, it kind of ties into the 1994 crime bill. Yeah. Trump called for severe punishments for those in Biden's administration who allegedly took advantage of the now 82-year-old while he was in the Oval Office. Something very severe should happen to these treasonous thugs that wanted to destroy our country, but couldn't because I came along. Make America great again. Under Biden's administration, over 8 million illegal immigrants slipped into the U.S. Well, we don't know the exact number, so they're undocumented for a reason. But okay, let's say 8 million. Sure. A majority crossing the southern border, including several future murderers and past murderers too. Trump made the assertion as the 46 president's allies have come under fire for allegedly covering up Biden's mental and physical ailments while in the White House. Experts and officials on both sides of the aisle are calling for an investigation into Biden's health history as they remain skeptical that the octogenarian was never tested for prostate cancer until recently. That doesn't make any sense to me. Does it make sense to you?
Again, what logical reason is there not to do it?
I don't think there is any.
Especially as you were a president for 4 years. For those 4 years, nobody thought to check.
And it's been done.
Hard sell.
Bush, Obama, and Trump have all said they have had this test done. So,
yeah.
Quote, I do believe that they felt like something was going on and were worried about it and kind of hedged around it for a little bit. Yeah, I know, but that's complete deception. That's not right. We got some people, they're crossing rivers, they're going over the wires. Everybody's crying over these pictures, which are so sad. Let's see, what else do we got? I just don't know how they just kind of find out this on Friday. And it's this far advanced and serious, the Biden White House aide said. If it's in the bones, there's got to be a discomfort. I think they just didn't test. No, well, that's what the Biden aide said. So I don't know. Nobody really believes that. This is going to be like the cover up of, at least a decade. This is pretty bad. Let's see.
At some point, somebody should have asked, hey, should we test for this?
But really, as CNN is going to point out, it's really not the White House's fault or anybody around Biden. Really, it was Donald Trump's fault that they covered this up.
Actually, are you arguing that Joe Biden was fine during his...
I'm not arguing that he was fine. I'm arguing that...
You keep pivoting back to Trump, who's clearly fine. I'm just asking you if you're arguing that something was not wrong with Joe Biden.
I'm so glad you asked that question, because Joe Biden is no longer the president.
But he was, and that's the story tonight.
This is the new Democratic talking point. We've gotten this from Hakeem Jeffries. We've gotten this from Chuck Schumer. We got it from the cackling hens on The View, which that's going to come up, by the way, because I love roasting the hens on The View. It makes my belly full. But this is the new talking point. Listen, he's not the president anymore. We have to just move forward. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. Can you think of that applying to literally anybody else? I can't. We have to move forward. Don't think about what happened in the past 4 years.
Is that your way of apologizing without apologizing? Like, yes.
No, it's a way of deflection.
That it was bullshit, but that means nothing, yeah.
Chuck Schumer, I wish I had that clip of Chuck Schumer. Maybe I will look it up. But he just... No, I'm going to look it up after this, actually. I want that clip of Chuck Schumer. But yeah,
No, actually, Donald, stop. Let me finish what I'm saying. Let me finish something. Donald Trump is the president of the United States. I would dearly love to see a cognitive test from him, because as somebody who's lived in the New York media market for the last 40 years, I can tell you that the Donald Trump that I knew in the 80s is not the Donald Trump that I hear today.
So your answer to the cover-up is Trump.
My answer is...
Your answer to every question is Trump.
My answer is
the cover-up is the story tonight.
The president of the... Yes, the cover-up is also the president of the United States, who happens to be Donald J. Trump today, is not... Yeah, you could laugh all you want.
I am definitely laughing.
You know why you're laughing? Because you don't want to...
We're going to...
We are laughing. And this is news.
Yeah, we are laughing.
This is news on a main broadcast.
I did end up finding it. So I just wanted to pull it up real fast. Let's see.
Oval Office, February 27th, 20.
You know, this is just gonna be the answer from all the Dems. Democratic leader Chuck Schumer here is going to have the same answer. It's crazy.
Just a handful of months before the president took that debate stage. And it was later reported that you and other Democratic leaders were talking before the debate about having a plan.
So let's go a little bit further with some of the other people.
Sorry, Ruben.
I do want to ask you about something that has been breaking out of CNN. Our Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson have written a book called Original Sin, and they call it a cover-up of Biden's health and his cognition and his fitness, quite frankly, to be president of the United States. You sat next to Biden in the Oval Office, February 27th, 2024, just a handful of months before the president took that debate stage. And it was later reported that you and other Democratic leaders were talking before the debate about having a plan. You and Hakeem Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama. I understand you later denied that that ever happened. But I am curious, I'm interested to know whether the man that you saw sitting there on that couch on that day, you were in there, you saw him up close and personal. Did you really not have any idea that he was not fit to serve a second term?
Casey, we're looking forward. We have the largest Medicaid cut in front
We're looking forward.
We have the whole federal government.
You're facing all of this because you lost a presidential election. And is that not Joe Biden's responsibility for deciding to run again?
What will be his answer? Will it be, I take accountability, or will it be, we're looking forward? Let's find out.
We're looking forward.
Oh!
That's it?
That's it.
That's it!
All right. Senator Chuck Schumer.
I don't know why the Democrats are polling at like 25%. I just don't understand it.
They don't even have the courage to say, yeah, you know what? We were wrong.
Well, you know,
we're looking forward. We don't look behind us and what we did.
Some people are baffled by it, and some people aren't. But it was completely bamboozled. It was my favorite cackling hens on The View. They didn't know. They were completely taken off guard. And you know what? For once, like I said before when we started this, I might actually believe them, because these women are just not the brightest.
Always been a mass trust issue, because politicians, media, nobody does what they're supposed to do. Now, I say, for me, listen, he's 83, so he's a little stumbly, he's a little rumbly. I can't point to anything that he's done that he did.
No, but he's running for his next 4 years.
But I'm saying, I want, not you, but I want somebody to tell me, well, when did you know it was bad? If you knew, why did you wait?
Yeah. So can I get in
He
for a
said
second?
that it was after he moderated the debate.
Yes, but that's not, I'm sorry, baby. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you're telling me that hundreds of people knew that he was not able to do his job, then where the hell was everybody?
He did his job. Trust issue with
there
the
has
voters.
always been a mass trust.
I think they're the only people I actually believe. I believe they did not know. I really do. I give them the benefit of the doubt.
I think they gave him a very strong benefit of the doubt, and just kind of like, well, let's just go along with it. I'm not gonna. There might be some alarming things, because I don't believe they weren't witness to some alarming behavior. I mean, we saw it on screen with them at the same time.
Oh my God! Can you imagine?
I can only imagine back screen.
I can only imagine if Trump had 10% of the gaffes that Biden has. It would have been all over the news. It would have been a total scandal. I mean, they already are talking about how Trump's unfit for office. Trump can't run it. You see his cognitive decline. It's like
we're talking about Biden's decline, and now all of a sudden,
or it's like Chuck Schumer said. We're looking forward. We're moving forward.
Trump's office. Okay.
So. But there is one person who should be held to account, I think, more than others. The rat, Jake Tapper here, who is going to get completely roasted by Megyn Kelly. This is a long clip, but I think it's worth watching. Because this is what I wanted on Monday. I wanted to see Jake Tapper really get flamed for his part in the cover-up. And now he's coming out saying Biden's of no use to us anymore. He's no use to CNN. He's of no use to me. I don't need the media access from it. He can't help me get access to the White House anymore. So now I'm going to turn around and I'm going to stab the guy in the back. And he's doing this book tour, and, Megyn Kelly's going to call him out, and more people should be calling him out. I hope everybody calls him out like this. He shouldn't even be writing this book.
To be transparent about his health records in an interview in 2020, I did ask him about the fact that voters thought that he was not transparent at all. No.
He promised you that he would be transparent about his health records, and then he wasn't. And when you sat with him again,
at all.
including 1 month after the Jackie Walorski thing, you didn't ask him about it. You didn't follow up on the fact that he was falling up the stairs, that he was losing his train of thought regularly, that he was slurring, that he was incomprehensible, that he was getting lost on the White House lawn. You sat right across from him and you asked none of that, notwithstanding the fact that he had promised you he would be fully transparent about his health issues.
That's all true.
Yep.
And now you're profiting off of his mental decline, which you covered up.
Talk about being complacent, yeah.
Tell you, I'm glad Megyn Kelly's calling him out. I hope more people call him out.
That's true. But I did ask him about his age
He's not
and
the
the
only
fact.
one. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. No, he's not the only one, but he is the one trying to profit off of it now.
I know what you're saying, especially with the situation.
He is definitely not the only person culpable in the media. I mean, MSNBC, CNN, all of them are culpable. All the fake news that Trump always calls out turns out to be fake news. But he especially, for trying to turn around and profit off of this, I think that's such a snake thing to do.
That the American people had concluded that even though he said whenever anybody brought up the subject of his age, watch me. And I said,
yes,
they're watching you and they are concerned that you were too old for this job.
And we watched him, fall up the stairs? How many times did he get lost on stage? It's not just about the gaffes or reading the teleprompter wrong. It's about literally he's tripping over sandbags. He's tripping up the stairs. He can't.
Yeah, he couldn't even.
He can't find it. Okay, he could trip once, maybe twice, but I mean, you're tripping all the time. He fell off his bicycle that one time. The guy's getting lost on a stage. He's been on a stage thousands of times. And now this guy's going to be like, oh, no, I'm so obtuse. I just didn't know. I just trusted him. Well, as a journalist, your job is not to trust anybody. You're supposed to use your journalistic integrity, but you don't have any of that.
You know as well as I do that there's a way of, you can say, hey, there's this poll on your age, or you could say, you just forgot that Jackie Walorski was dead. You asked where she was moments after watching a videotape.
He's talking to dead people.
To her. You lowered the flags at the White House after she died. This happened 13 days before you sat with him. There is a way of pressing a man like that on the actual infirmities to bring it home to him and to the audience, and you didn't do it.
That's correct. I didn't. And like I said, I feel humility about my coverage. I mean, it's not like I was asking him his favorite movie or his favorite color. We were talking about.
No, I think you feel greed. I think that's what it is. I think it's greed, Jake Tapper. I think you should be ashamed of yourself. I think you should be fired. I don't think anybody should ever take you seriously again. It's one thing to cover it up. It's another thing to profit off of it entirely.
Putin, we were talking about other issues of national importance. But yeah, I mean, of course, I've said, I look back at my coverage with humility. And I wish I did cover the issues of age and acuity, but I wish I had covered them much more. And I wish, I mean, of course, it's May 2025. Do I wish that in that 10, 15-minute interview I had with Biden in October 2022, that this had been the only subject? Because I had then
well, it wasn't
what I know
just that,
now.
though, Jake. It wasn't just that. I mean, you sat with him a couple of times in the course of his presidency, and these issues were not pressed. Yes, well, there was at least that time, and then there was the time at the beginning. And but separate and apart from that, you covered the.
Listen, even if, like, let's say Jake Tapper is being 100% honest here, which I don't believe. But let's say he is. Do you need to sit with this guy to see that he's mentally declining? I didn't need to sit with the guy to figure out he was mentally declining. The American people didn't have to sit with him to think he was mentally declining. I've never sat in a room with Biden.
Everyone that thought it has not sat down with him. Yeah. Not a single person.
But it's like
the people that actually sit down with him are now saying, oh, I didn't see it.
What is that quote from It's like that quote from 1984. The party asks you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It is their most essential command. And that's literally what's been happening the past 4 years. They want you to reject what you're seeing, and oh no, it can't be what I'm seeing, or it can't be what I'm hearing. It has to be. There's something else at play here. It's all cheap fakes. It's all gaffes. It's all clips taken out of context.
We have to look forward.
Well, and now that's in the past. Let's look forward. We lied to you before, but we're honest now.
Well, let's not. Yeah, let's look forward.
Biden's presidency. No. Let me just finish my point. You covered the Biden presidency.
With him during his I had one interview with him
and it was
during
13 days after the Jackie Walorski thing. But you covered the Biden presidency aggressively throughout the 4 years, and you didn't cover mental acuity hardly at all. I mean, time and time again, when issues came up, you seemed to be running cover for the president.
True.
You didn't seem interested.
No,
well, I mean,
that's 100%
we'll start with the Laura
true.
Trump issue that you referred. Here it is. This happened in 2020.
Joe Biden, as we all know, has worked to overcome a stutter. How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see...
This stutter thing drives me insane. Please show me a clip of Biden pre-2016 where he has this stutter. I mean, I just want to see one clip. I want to see one clip. If anybody watching this can provide this clip for me where you can see Joe Biden stutter prior to 2016, 2015, please, I need to see it. Because I don't know where this talking point came from that he had a stutter. But I don't think you'd suddenly develop a stutter in your 70s. I mean, I'm sure some people do. I'm sure it's possible. But I've never... I hate this stutter.
It doesn't sound like a stutter. Yeah,
it sounds like you're mentally declining. But no, this is all gaslighting. This is all just hand jerking. It's like, or hand wringing. Ugh.
See you make a comment like that.
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable
you have
to watch somebody on stage search for
so
questions.
amazing.
You're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were
stuttering.
mocking his stutter. I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline.
And it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay.
That is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel sorry for Joe Biden.
I appreciate it. I'm sure it was from a place.
Nothing was wrong.
No, it turns out Laura Trump was right and Jake Tapper was wrong. And it's not even hey, listen, you can be wrong. Obviously, everybody who does the news, they're going to get stuff wrong at some point. That's fine. But it's how condescending and how arrogant you are. You're just shutting this woman down and you're like, no, you have no idea what you're talking about. Well, it turns out
when there's actual proof of your opinion being wrong, like at least own up to it. Like, you know what, I did obviously my thinking process was incorrect. Yada yada yada. Whatever you want.
He is going to own up to it now, but you're owning up to it when it doesn't matter anymore. And when you've lost all, I mean, you had 4 years, you could have owned up to it and been like, hey, listen, actually, you could have went back in 2022, 2023, and you could have said, listen, hey, I kind of see it. I think there might be more to this story here. No. It was after he was no longer useful to the Democratic Party. Oh, well, now I see it. Well, now it's all so clear to me. Like, right.
Of concern. We all believe that. Lara Trump, thank you so much.
Do you want to apologize to Lara Trump now?
I've already apologized to her. I called her months ago.
And what did she say?
I mean, I don't want to disclose the contents of a private conversation, but I thought the conversation went well. And she has said this publicly, so I feel fine sharing it. She said that she would never mock anybody's stutter. But I mean,
He doesn't have a stutter. Oh my God, stop with the stutter. Yeah. I'm going insane.
That's what he goes back to.
It's always with the stutter. There is no stutter.
The research for this book, and I realized how bad his acuity issues were. I called Lara Trump and I said, you were right.
She was totally right. That's the thing, because when I watched that clip, and I'm giving voice to what a lot of people watching the show are feeling, Jake, I feel angry because she was right. And not only did you not allow her to make her comments, but you seemed to try to humiliate her. You had a hostility toward the position, but she was totally right. And then you lectured her on how she was in no position to diagnose cognitive decline, which you guys...
Yeah, that clip is going to haunt Jake Tapper forever. I hope every interview he does on this book tour, I hope everyone brings up that clip.
About that fucking clip. Yeah.
I hope so. You deserve it.
Do at length, including on page 4 of your book. You describe at length his cognitive decline, which is all she tried to do with you.
Oh! Whoa! What just happened? You're describing his cognitive decline? Are you a doc? You're not a doctor. Are you at liberty to diagnose somebody's mental decline?
In what position do you think you're
making fun of little kids with stutters? Oh, I hate this guy so much.
Diagnose his cognitive situation. What position do you think you're in, sir?
Can you imagine how radicalized you can get in 4 years? You go from not making fun of little kids' stutters, now you're blatantly putting it in books to make fun of little kids with stutters. What about all the little kids with stutters out there, Jake Tapper?
Your sensitivity to stutters is just awful. God awful.
It really is.
But you had such a visceral reaction to her. And my feeling is that's because you didn't want to hear it.
No, I'm happy to talk about this. I didn't come here thinking that you weren't going to ask me about this. I'm happy to talk to you about it.
No, I know.
The first time I saw the coverage of Lara Trump's comments, which were interpreted as her mocking Joe Biden's stutter, was in January 2020. I read it in conservative media. I read it in the Daily Mail. And that's where I saw that her comments were being interpreted that way. After
we're done, I'm going to do a deep dive into this stutter thing because it's
he has never had a stutter.
It's like the laziest form of. I've never seen a clip of him with a stutter. I know I'm getting really hung up on this. I gotta let it go, but I'm gonna do a deep dive into this. I really want to know, when did this stutter develop?
I'm not an expert, but I've seen plenty of his speeches. I've never seen one evidence of a stutter.
And yet,
until his recent.
And yet, this was the gaslighting we had to deal with for 4 years. It's incredible.
Those comments were publicized. It got a lot of coverage, and Sully Sullenberger wrote an op-ed in the New York Times criticizing her about this. So that's the context for that, that I was following up.
Why does he keep looking over
on a story that had been out there months before? This is also in the context of October 2020.
Oh, I don't know. It could be many reasons. I keep looking over too, because like I have another screen on the left. So if anyone ever sees me like I'm jerking my head to the left, that's why. Like I'm constantly doing that. I'm never like facing forward.
I'm not cool enough for 2 screens.
Oh, you got to get 2 screens. It opens up a whole world to you.
A very intense time. People on the Biden side are saying crazy things about Trump. People on the Trump side are saying crazy things about Biden.
Well, like the thing he launched his campaign on, the Very Fine People hoax, like that, because we know that's been disproven. But I don't know if mainstream media, I don't know if CNN's ever admitted that. Biden launched his entire campaign off the Very Fine People hoax. But I don't think that was ever, really talked about by CNN, or not in a positive. Let's say, hey, no, this is not true. There's still gaslighting.
Including Don Jr. suggesting that Joe Biden is a pedophile. So,
well, he did admit it. I mean, in his daughter's diary, it does say that he was showering with her and that she was afraid to be in the house with him because she didn't want to shower with him. Now, I don't know if that falls under the, the whole pedo thing. I do know that's exceedingly creepy and inappropriate, especially if she's old enough to be writing this. Oh, I think at any age, but especially if she's old enough to be writing it in her diary. And then when that diary was found by a random woman, that woman was sent to jail. Why was that woman sent to jail for finding that diary? She didn't write anything in it. Odd.
So that is the larger context. But as I said, her comments have aged well. My comments have aged poorly. I own that. But I think what is significant is, in addition to me owning that, the reporting that Alex and I have done, which is beyond just, and when I say just, I don't mean to diminish it, but the comments of Joe Biden making gaffes, saying things stupid, tripping, are all important.
Yes,
and
they are.
All deserved to be aired and all deserve scrutiny.
But they didn't deserve scrutiny when Laura Trump brought it up.
As you know, Megyn, because even though you look 30 years younger than me, we're roughly the same age, Joe Biden has been saying stupid things for decades. Okay?
I get what you're saying, but this minimizes it too, because it was more than saying stupid things. But I'm telling you, like over here in my ecosphere, we were covering all of these. It wasn't just falling down. It was getting lost. It was some of the stuff you report in your book. We knew and we were reporting on, like the multi-jump cuts in the videos of him, where it was obvious.
Oh yeah, we did one with that. What was it? Was it Monday or Friday?
Yeah.
Where there was 6 different cuts in a 14-second clip of him challenging Donald Trump to a debate. He couldn't get through 15 seconds. That's crazy.
As he couldn't get through a 1-minute take.
Yes.
So they had to use those. It was clear to us that he was using teleprompter, and there was some reporting on that at the time, all of which the White House was denying. Now,
it wasn't about him using a teleprompter, because most people do use a teleprompter. It's that he couldn't read it correctly. Yeah. Like he was, every time a pause was in there, he would say pause. Like he couldn't read the teleprompter correctly, which I'm sure is something he's been doing most of his life.
With the current White House, I have some connections. With the Joe Biden White House, I had none, but you did. You did. And so while you've been in Washington 30 years, Jake, you and CNN have White House connections, but there was no effort, none, to get to the bottom of this. And now for you guys to write this book, like there was a cover.
No, that is entirely accurate. When has CNN ever been critical of Joe Biden? All right, the clip's almost done. I know it's a long clip. I apologize for playing it, but I think it's relevant. It's relevant in context, and I'm going to move on. I don't want to see Jake Tapper's stupid face anymore. So, we're moving on. We're going to move on to our next topic, but really quick, if you could leave a like on the video, share it out there, leave a comment. What you thought about the segment. Like I said, share it to your friends, share it to your enemies. Watch
Let us know, who else do you think knew?
I think we're going to be covering this for a while. I think more and more. A lot of people knew. More and more is going to be coming out about this, and this is just the beginning. I really think so.
I'm curious to see honestly what happens with his wife, because if anyone knew,
well, there's claims that she's going to be charged with elder abuse, but that's not going to. Yeah, it probably should be.
I'm curious to see exactly what will happen.
Well, she probably should be charged with elder abuse, but she won't be. Nothing's going to happen to her. And you know what? It might not have even been her. It might have been at the behest of Joe Biden. Hey, keep this all wrapped up, keep it covered up, and all she was doing was going along with it as being a dutiful wife. Or she could be a power-hungry, egotistical maniac. I have no idea. I've never met her. Wouldn't want to. Anyway, our next story here is a very, very alarming, concerning, kind of scary story for anybody who has children in public schools. This is a story that just came out. This young, actually not young man, just this man. He's not a young man. He looks young, but he's 24 years old. Venezuelan national. Name is Anthony Emmanuel Labrador Sierra. I think I'm saying that right. 24-year-old Venezuelan national was arrested in Ohio after he reportedly posed as a 16-year-old in order to enroll in school back in January of 2024. Anthony was in the U.S. under a temporary protected status during Biden's presidency. He is being charged with felony forgery and has been given a $50,000 bond. Which, you know, as a parent who sends their child to public schools, I mean, that's just crazy. Like,
so you're telling me it's capable of a 24-year-old undocumented illegal immigrant to enroll into my daughter's high school and attend with her and go to functions with her and play sports with her and just occupy the same space with my daughter. That's crazy.
I mean, that's what it's saying here. And this should be alarming for everybody. It's like, you know,
to be okay with this system.
Well, everybody always worries about when you send your kid off to school. Oh, well, is it safe or anything like that? And it's like, you know, I mean, obviously you hope it is, you know, but there's always, you know, oh, you know, somebody
statistically, man, it's hard to understand it.
But yeah, this is
homeschooling sounds better and better every day.
I think honestly, if you can homeschool your kids, you have the means to do it. I think you probably should. I think it's definitely a lot safer. Because, you know, between all the weirdo teachers who are like non-binary now and all the like the boys going in the girls' locker rooms and the school will punish the girls if they speak out against it. And I mean, every day on X-Men, I see something about like these teachers getting with their students. I mean, it's like almost, maybe it's just because of how my filter is on X, but it's like an epidemic. I mean, I see a new one every single day.
Sadly, it happens every single day.
I would like to think not, but it's just like it's
becoming proven at this point that it is. Sadly.
So, a 24-year-old Venezuelan man, Anthony Emmanuel Labrador Sierra, was arrested in Perrysburg, Ohio for posing as a 16-year-old high school student. He enrolled at Perrysburg High School using a fake Venezuelan birth certificate, claiming to be a homeless immigrant and human trafficking victim. Sierra joined the soccer and swim teams and was romantically involved with a 16-year-old student.
There you go.
His true age was exposed after a tip reportedly from the mother of his child in Venezuela, who is 15? What? He faces charges of forgery and is held on fire. So this guy, yeah, okay, well, we know why he was there then. I mean, oh my,
what a piece of shit. Even, that's even, worse than what I was originally thinking.
Well, I mean, how many other reasons could you really have to want to go into? I mean, why would you want to be in high school again? I know I would.
I was worried that it was kind of leading towards a human trafficking issue, but honestly, that's even worse. What he's doing.
No, that would be bad too. But yeah, I don't know.
They're both bad. I don't want to say which one's worse, but both of them. Yeah.
All right. Well, we got this news article here. This part's a little loud, the arrest, because it's outside. So sorry about that.
Well, that was the body cam video of the arrest of a 24-year-old Venezuelan man who's locked up tonight, accused of posing as a 16-year-old student at Perrysburg High School.
Perrysburg schools sent a letter to parents alerting them that Anthony Emmanuel Labrador Sierra was enrolled in the school from January of last year until this month.
So a year and a half, I guess about a year in like school time, because January to about May, June, and then all of this year from September till May. Can you imagine being a parent and getting that letter? That's gotta be insane. I mean, you gotta like, would you even send your kid back to that school?
Yeah, that's crazy.
I don't even know how I'd react to that. You know, I hope every day I send my daughter off to school, nothing like this, like, or anything bad's gonna happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then I get calls from the school about, you know, stupid stuff. Oh, you know, your daughter said if, you know, she was the Hulk, she could kill somebody. I'm like, why are you calling me? That's objectively, it's objectively true. Like, I don't, it's objectively true. I don't.
If anybody was the Hulk smash, man. Like, you're done.
I don't think she's going to get gamma radiation and turn green, though, so I'm not really that worried about it. And I think
that's true.
The school's wasting my time with this, but somehow this slips through the cracks. There's a 24-year-old dating a 16-year-old.
Yeah, but this is allowed.
And he's been in the school for over a year.
This afternoon, Labrador Sierra faced a judge.
13 Action News reporter Alexis Means live tonight to take us inside this investigation. Alexis.
Lee, the prosecutor says that this man has no real ties to this community. His visa status expired in 2023, and they say he's fooled a lot of people. A 24-year-old man accused of pretending to be a high school student for more than a year at Perrysburg High School faced a judge.
It's my understanding you're not a citizen of the United States. Is that correct? No.
The judge explained to Anthony Emmanuel Labrador Sierra that he could be deported if he's convicted of the forgery charge against him.
Could. He's illegal. He should be deported anyway.
And not to mention he's fucking a 16-year-old American citizen. What are we doing here?
Where's ICE? I mean, somebody call ICE.
Yeah.
This guy. This was
the fuck out of here. Like,
this was only on Monday, so I guarantee you ICE is going to be on this. This guy's going to get taken out of here. He has to.
Get him out of here.
According
These
to
are
this
the type of
court
people that we need to get out of this country for sure.
document, the man claimed he was trafficked from Venezuela. Police say he used a fake birth certificate in order to enroll in the school. The judge gave Labrador Sierra a $50,000 bond after the prosecutor said the man is a flight risk.
$50,000 bond. He's got to go.
As he stated, not an American citizen. He is from Venezuela. He is in the country illegally. He is
Also, a 24-year-old carrying on a relationship with a 16-year-old. I don't think forgery should really be the top concern, even though that is a huge concern. I think this guy needs a couple more charges slapped on him.
Why is this the only charge that I'm hearing?
Yeah, he needs a visit.
Sounds like he's doing a lot more than just forgery.
Yeah, and he needs a visit from ICE as well. Get him out of here. Get him on the next plane back to Venezuela.
As a 17-year-old and has falsified numerous documents in order to show that he is 17 rather than being actually 24 years old. He falsified documents in order to enroll in Perrysburg High School, to take advantage of a Perrysburg family's generosity by obtaining guardianship over him.
Hello, how's it going? Good, how are you? What's your name, man? I'm Tony. Anthony.
This is body cam of his arrest. Perrysburg school leaders called the police after the family who took Labrador Sierra in was tipped off about his age.
We utilized several federal partners to verify information that was presented to us, including the Social Security card, the original one that a female had tipped off the family that he was staying with, that he was actually 24 and not 17. She's the one that presented the documents, the driver's license, Social Security card, along with other photo evidence that was him that would have placed his age correctly.
The illegal immigrant told the court today,
A lot of those accusations are false. I really haven't heard anybody.
That's why we're going to get you an attorney to assist you. That is your right. That's what we're going to be working on, okay?
And according to a court document, the man is also a father. The family who took this man in says that they also allegedly found fake IDs in his room. Police, as well as federal agents, are...
You imagine what a sick, depraved person you have to be to go through all these steps. That's you want to go
to get in this situation to where you want to do what you did.
There better be more charges coming, because forgery is...
I haven't heard anything so far, but I'd love to hear from the parents of the 16-year-old that he was apparently dating.
Well, that might come out. We'll have to follow this up. But I mean, that's got to be so... I mean, what do? You got to take your kid out of school then. I mean, your trust in the school has to be broken, right? How can this even be like, I don't even know how this could happen.
So with a fake birth certificate, he was able to enroll.
Are investigating that evidence found by that family. Also, an organization called Advocating Opportunity was in court today, and the executive director says she's been helping this 24-year-old man get a visa. Lee, back to you.
Even though he's been here illegally since 2023.
Alexis, thank you. And Perrysburg School Superintendent Tom Hostler addressing this investigation in a letter saying this
so did
case
they know
involves
that she
highly
was in
unusual
school illegally? Like, hold on.
No,
so many questions.
It sounds like nobody knew. It sounds like the foster family didn't know. The school board didn't know.
So they were helping a fake identity get a visa? That makes...
Well, if they didn't know is I don't know. He probably lied to them too. Who knows? Or maybe they're
saying, like,
or maybe they're complicit.
He's going to get a visa for a fake identity? That wouldn't help him.
It might. I don't know exactly how that works. I've never tried to obtain a fake ID, but
yeah, or a visa.
Yeah, or a visa.
Circumstances that impacted many local, state, and federal agencies. School district has reviewed its actions regarding enrollment and is confident proper legal channels were followed to provide support for an individual presenting themselves as an unaccompanied minor, as spelled out in the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act.
Because he was homeless, he was
absolutely wild story.
Yeah.
24-year-old.
It's a broken rule then if somebody can do that.
I mean, that's just scary. I mean, this could happen to any school. Any high school or.
Well, he just laid out a blueprint. Yeah,
he just laid across America, and I'm sure it is.
Exploit that law.
I'm sure
that law needs to change today.
I'm sure he's not the only person doing it either, which is even. I mean, that's even scarier. Let's see. Anthony Emmanuel Labrador Sierra was arrested Monday after he posed as a teenager in January 2024. According to a police report, Labrador had contacted Perry schools in November 2023, wanting to enroll as a student, claiming he had been homeless and was an immigrant from Venezuela. He was also told at the school that he was a victim of trafficking. When he met with the school to begin the enrollment process, Labrador presented a birth certificate from the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela with a birth date of December 2nd, 2007. Police said. At the time, he told the school he was staying at an address in Toledo, and he started as a student on January 19, 2024. Yeah, a year and a half ago. Kathy and Brad Melford, who had housed exchange students in the past and had adoptive children, were contacted about Labrador. The Melfords agreed to assist Labrador, and he began residing with them on March 21st, 2024, police said. The couple was granted permanent guardianship over Labrador through the Wood County Common Pleas Court Juvenile Division. So somehow he's in the juvenile system, and yet he's not a legal resident of the United States.
Yeah.
And nobody asked any questions about that? Well, how'd you get here? Where's your parents? There's not a vetting process for that?
One more time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they also assisted him in getting...
But I can't go get a real ID because apparently my birth certificate's not the right copy.
Yeah, I don't want to start with the real ID thing. I think that's a scam too. But
yeah,
they also assisted him in getting a social security number and an Ohio driver's license. So they helped legitimize him because they didn't know, because they assumed, hey, we'll take you at face value. And why wouldn't they? If they already have, what did it say? They've already done this with other adoptive children.
He was already vetted apparently by the school. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if he was in this program, he would have already been vetted by the state. So why would they assume anything?
Also, whoever was supposed to have vetted him did not vet him properly. Clear.
Then on May 14th, the Melfords were contacted by a woman, Evelyn Camacho, who stated that Labrador was actually a 24-year-old and he was the father of her child. Camacho sent the Melfords a picture of Labrador's driver's license with a birth certificate of March 27, 2001, along with Facebook pictures of her with Labrador and a small child. Police said they reached out to... so this guy never would have even been caught if the mother of this child, or the mother of his child, didn't reach out.
Yep. And where's the mother of his child? Venezuela?
Venezuela.
Okay. So at least it wasn't already... He didn't already knock up an American, at least.
It's still pretty...
so far.
This is just such a wild story. I'm going to flee from Venezuela...
start banging a 16-year-old.
Again,
a 17-year-old.
These are not people that's the whole thing with everyone's all upset with the white South Afrikaners who are coming here fleeing apartheid, fleeing genocide, even though they don't want to call it genocide. But these people who don't seem like they have any reason to come here, obviously you have a wife and a kid back home. These are, again, military-aged men who are invading the country, and they're doing all this stuff to get free benefits. This guy didn't have to do anything but go to school for 6 hours a day. Police said they reached out to the United States Border Patrol for assistance in the investigation, who advised that Labrador had an actual birth date of March 27, 2001 and expired work visa and was considered an overstay in this country. Officials said his work visa expired the same year he reached out to Perrysburg schools to enroll. So how does that get lost in translation? He's here on a work visa. How does
nobody ever go get him if his work visa is expired?
He's here on a work visa, so at one point, obviously, he had his correct age, I would assume, and then somehow he can just switch all that up, and then he can get in this foster care program? That doesn't make any sense to me.
It all started with him trying to... I guess he got in touch with the programs through the school, though, so realistically, it was the school that didn't vet him properly.
Yeah, or
took his word on his fake birth certificate.
Yeah, but he was still already in this. If you had a visa, he was still already somewhere within the system.
That's true too. So
how does that not cross over?
With them not going after the visa that expired.
Yeah, I don't know.
Tracking down the visa that expired.
Monday at 4:15 p.m., Labrador was arrested after he was located riding in a vehicle on Interstate 75. Was booked on forgery charges, and hopefully a lot more is to come. Labrador was also a member of a junior varsity soccer and swims team at the high school, and the district has reported the situation in the Ohio High School Athletic Association. The suspect remains in custody at the Wood County Jail, and his next court date is scheduled for May 29th, according to jail records. It is unclear if Labrador has an attorney who can speak on his behalf. Absolutely crazy story. Should make every parent in America concerned who's going to school with their kids. And if the schools are really on top of anything, if they can be trusted. Because I got to say, the school contacts me all the time for just nonsense, stupid little stuff. But somehow something like this can, and obviously it's not the same school district. But somehow,
to me, it says the school's at fault.
Yeah, somehow this can slip through the cracks. That's absolutely, I mean, that's just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
But we'll probably follow up on this story later. I think we're going to leave it there, my friends. Again,
let us know what you like about that segment.
If you like
what you thought about it.
Like the segment, leave a like on the video, comment down below, share it out. And, maybe if you have, kids around middle high school age, maybe it's not.
How would you react?
Maybe it's not a bad idea to actually go down to, the school board and, talk to them when they have those open, meetings and whatnot. Yeah. I mean, because really, this is
voice some opinions, because this is
incredibly concerning. And
this is a safety issue.
Yeah,
110% is a safety issue.
If you can get your kids out of public school. All right. Well, next we're moving on to U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and how he completely dismantled and has been destroying. And actually, this is a good segue. I think this goes into the immigration aspect, because Senator here, well, this is Tim Kaine. Yeah, Tim Kaine, for those of you who don't know who Tim Kaine is, I don't really know who he is either. I know he was Hillary Clinton's running mate back in 2016. I didn't even know he was still in Congress, but apparently he is, because here he is. But yeah, he didn't really help Hillary get over the mark, and lucky for him, he's still alive for that failure. Good for you, Mr. Kaine. But this is more about Marco Rubio really lambasting Congress, or Congress trying to lambast him, and him just like literally calling them out to their faces. And this is a big reason why the Democrats are losing. Just take a look at this rant that Tim Kaine's going to go on here, and this is going to be the start. Really, this is about Senator Van Hollen, but I wanted to start with this from Tim Kaine.
But I'm going to ask you, so a well-justified fear of persecution?
Yeah, they thought that their farms were being burned down and they would be killed. I think that's a pretty good job.
So they're talking in reference here to the 60 South Afrikaners who were let in because of the Democrats don't like it because of the color of their skin.
Justification for wanting to come. They're afraid for their lives.
And should it be applied in an even-handed way? That's an easy.
No, our foreign policy doesn't require even-handedness. It requires prioritizing the interests of the United States.
The phrase says you are entitled to entrance as a refugee if you demonstrate a well-justified fear of persecution.
No, you're not entitled.
So
you're
can
allowed.
You have a different standard based upon the color of somebody's skin? Would that be acceptable?
Well, I'm not the one arguing that. Apparently, you are, because you don't like the fact that they're white, and that's why they're coming.
I'm just asking you to say that would be unacceptable.
Well, no, I would say that the United States,
a very easy thing
the United States has a right to pick and choose who they allow into the United States,
even based on the color of somebody's skin.
You're the one that's talking about the color of their skin, not me. These are people whose farms were being burned down.
What I love is the Democrats always accuse Republicans of being racist. The Republicans are racist. They don't like people of color. Well, the only people who are always talking about color really are the Democrats. Nobody even mentioned the color of these people's skin, and this is, the major point for. I mean, this is why 60 people came in. This is why they don't want these 60 people here, because they're white.
Down and they were killed because of the color of their skin.
Well,
Well, you've demonstrated enough, because you think anyone should be allowed into this country for any reason because they met a certain criteria.
Who has said that?
We are going to prioritize people that come into our country on the basis of what's in the interest of this country. That's a small number of people that are coming.
But
in
you
that
said this weekend that
but
there
in
would
other
be more.
cases, it's harder to vet. In other cases, it's more difficult. And by the way, the United States admits.
And these people who came in from South Africa, just so everybody knows, have been vetted. And Trump has said that he does think they're being genocided over there. And we actually did this, I think it was last week we covered this, with Julius Malema or whatever, he's a leader of the EFF over there. And they've said basically, hey, I mean, you can take the farmers' lands. That's totally fine.
That's part of their government.
That's part of their government. That's an actual thing. And they said, well, we haven't called for the killing of white Boers over there yet. We haven't done this yet. Well, that doesn't, I mean...
But I'm not going to rule it out.
Well, that's essentially what they said, yeah. We're not going to rule it out.
Yeah.
It hasn't been ruled out, so... Let's see. What Rubio told Congress Tuesday. This is going to be a quick recap. Rubio's testimony to the Senate Foreign Relations Committee is ended, and we're wrapping up our live coverage. Secretary of State was grilled by his former Senate colleagues over cuts to the agency and foreign aid, Trump's relation with foreign leaders, and possible conflicts of interest. Rubio defended Trump's steep cuts, even as some former colleagues say they regret voting to confirm him because he has not stood up to the president. And really what they're all worried about, this is all about U.S. aid and how our USA aid or whatever it is, and how that is no longer trickling money into a lot of Democratic coffers, or just a lot of coffers in general, because, I mean, we spent so much unbelievable amounts of money on stupid things, did not matter. And now people, they want them...
a while ago that we're getting rid of it, and now people are seeing it. They don't want to believe it.
Well, if it didn't go to such stupid things like, we spend $50 million or something to go to condoms in the Congo, it's like, why?
Yeah.
Why is that what does that have to do with anything? Or there was
the American taxpayers have to pay for this.
I think it was $20 million for a Sesame Street parade or a Sesame Street show in Iraq. It's like, why?
Yeah. Like, why are we paying for this?
Because somebody's getting, because somehow I guess you can, I don't know. I got to figure out how I can get on that. Really, I have a lot of stupid ideas that I can just throw at things.
I'll put on a Sesame parade. I'll go to the Dollar Tree, get a bunch of balloons. I'll rent a freaking trailer, and there's your parade. I'll pocket the rest. That's exactly what happens.
Let's see.
Yeah, it costs $20 million, but it doesn't.
Well, even if it did, why are we spending $20 million of taxpayer money to...
You think a parade would cost $20 million in Afghanistan?
Well, it might have been a show or whatever, but the point remains the same. One, it doesn't cost that much, and two,
it's that there's an old
why just why
old thinking process of why does a hammer cost $10,000? Why is that part of this budget for the Department of Defense? They used to charge unrealistic costs for unrealistic parts.
So they pay themselves. Everybody knows.
Yeah. Somebody's pocketing it somewhere.
Let's see. Quote, the State Department had to change. It was no longer at the center of American foreign policy. It has often been replaced by the White House National Security Council or by some other agency of government, unquote, Rubio said. Senate voted 99-0 to confirm the Florida Republican senator as the nation's highest diplomat on January 20th. As Democrats joined Trump's Republicans in giving the president his first permanent second-term cabinet member just hours after Trump was sworn in. Rubio told the Senate committee on Tuesday that the $28.5 billion budget request by Trump administration for the 2025-2026 fiscal year will allow his department to continue enacting Trump's vision while cutting $20 billion of duplicative, wasteful, and ideologically driven programs. But obviously, Democrats are not super happy about that. So we're going to move over here, and this is the major thing about this was him getting into it. You can see Senator Van Hollen. This is the Maryland senator who went down to El Salvador to talk with Kilmore Abreu Garcia about him.
Mai Tai.
I think it was a margarita.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I think Mai Tais are like Polynesian Hawaiian drinks. I think they have margaritas down in like Mexico or the Bahamas. Right. So I'm told. But that's oh no, I lost the clip. Oh, darn it. Let's see if I can find it again. Van Hollen. Sorry about that, folks. I have a lot of tabs up. Sometimes I do lose the clips. Oh, here we go.
We've spoken to the administration about how they are not making the argument about MS-13 in court. But you told my colleague Dana Bash yesterday that you did not ask Abreu Garcia whether or not he's actually in MS-13. You said you know what his answer is. But how do you know?
He went all the way down to El Salvador to protect Maryland, man, and have a margarita with him. Which he gave the Bill. He gave the Bill Clinton response too. He said, "I did not drink that margarita. I did not drink it.
Oh,
it was placed in front of me by somebody else. I did not consume that alcohol." But yeah, he forgot to ask if he was a gang member.
No.
By the way, you're good, right? You're not part of a gang, right?
No, he didn't even ask that because That was not even a question. You know.
That escaped my mind. Sorry.
You know, if you got a few margaritas in you, man, I mean, yeah, of course it's going to slip your mind, you know. Everything's a little, you know, you're flowing a little better. You know, you're like, oh, yeah, well, why was I down here again? I don't know. Like, bring me another one.
I'll remember tomorrow.
Well, because I know what he's said many times in court, and that's the proper forum for debating this. And as we know, the federal district court judge in this case said, and I brought it with me again, and I'm going to read it, no evidence linking Abrego Garcia to MS-13 or to any terrorist activity, period.
Now, these are in the words of Kilmore Abrego Garcia. They're not of the findings of the court the 2 times he was there. Just so you know. The court disagrees with what he says. And they said, hey, we think you are a gang member. But he's like, listen, the court, why would I listen to the court when I have this honest, illegal,
his own personal account,
who's been caught trafficking people across state lines in violation of the Mann Act, and also has had multiple calls about domestic violence for assaulting his wife. Why would this man lie to me?
Why wouldn't I take him on his word? That's so weird.
Well, he is going to take him on his word.
That has been what Abrego Garcia has been telling the court. And I would ask you, Caitlin, really, if I'd come back and said, oh, I asked him if he was an MS-13, and he said, no, he wasn't. I mean, right? No one's, that the whole point.
Then why did you go? Why did you go down there? You can see how pissed Scott Presler is over here. Scott Presler's having none of this.
This is a conversation that's supposed to happen in court.
We've spoken to the.
You got to grill him more, Scott. Oh, wait, no, that's Caitlin Collins. Sorry. I get those two confused. You ever notice that the Scott Presler and Caitlin Collins look a lot alike? She looks just like Scott Presler. Except I like Scott Presler, so there's the difference with that. All right. So this is going to be the whole interaction between Marco Rubio and Senator Van Hollen here. And honestly, I think Rubio was a really good cabinet pick. I know him and Trump didn't get along, or at least they didn't when they were both on the 2016 campaign trail. But they seem to be working very well together now. And, I mean, they both seem to have done entire 180s on each other. But I guess as is politics.
And I have to tell you directly and personally that I regret voting for you for Secretary of State.
Oh, that's like a knife in the heart.
May I respond?
You may sit.
Well, first of all, your regret for voting for me confirms I'm doing a good job.
Boom.
Well, that's just a flippant statement, Mr. Secretary.
Can I respond, Mr. Chairman?
You may.
I didn't ask.
Senator, please let the Secretary have
I'd be happy to, but then I can respond to his.
Your time's up, Senator, and willfully used, I might add.
Well,
your remarks do not represent the view of this committee.
Well, Mr.
Secretary, please.
Well, I'd like to. I can't respond to everything he said because much of these are untrue, but I'll go through a few. First of all, I'm actually very proud of the work we've done with USAID. For example, I don't regret cutting $10 million for male circumcisions in Mozambique. I don't know how that makes us stronger and more prosperous as a nation.
$10 million for male circumcisions in Mozambique. I've never even heard of Mozambique. Have you ever heard of Mozambique?
No idea what you're talking about. Never heard of it.
$10 million.
But apparently we're giving them $10 million. Yep.
For male circumcision.
All right. Sounds good. Money well spent.
I don't regret psychosocial support services.
I raised Sudan, Mr. Secretary.
Can I respond,
Senator, I'd ask you to suspend. You had 7 straight minutes.
I chose to use my time that way, Mr. Chairman. That's my right to
Please
use
suspend.
my time that way.
That was your time.
Well, I
Shut
can go
up.
on. I mean, there's other things here.
Yeah,
We spent $227,000 for Big Cat's YouTube channel from USAID. We spent $14 million for social cohesion in Mali.
See, we got to get on that list. See, can I go back a little bit for Big Cat's YouTube channel? We got to get it.
We can go on. I mean, there's other things here. We spent $227,000 for Big Cat's YouTube channel from USAID. We spent $14 million for social cohesion in Mali, whatever the hell that means. So I can go on and on. I got the list here, and there's more. I didn't even bring the whole list. In the case of El Salvador, absolutely.
Why would anybody be opposed to cutting this wasteful spending? That's the real question. Yeah. Obviously, I mean, it seems like these things
Why are we throwing any huff about it? Yeah.
Well, they're very wasteful, and they don't benefit our country in any sort of way. They're actually programs sent for other countries that are obviously so small. I've never even heard of most of these countries.
To me, it's more alarming that there's so many people trying to say, no, don't get rid of it.
No,
why?
Because they're somehow benefiting from it. I mean, that's the only reason.
Absolutely.
It's got to be.
we deported gang members, including the one you had a margarita with. And that guy is a human trafficker.
Got him.
And that guy is a gangbanger. And the evidence is going to be clear. In the days to come, you're going to see who you went to defend.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Rubio has the floor.
Mr. Chairman, he can't make unsubstantiated comments like that.
Secretary
I did not consume that alcohol.
Rubio has the floor. You had
Secretary
your time.
Rubio should take that testimony to the federal court in
Senator?
the United States because he hasn't done it under oath.
Here's another point, okay? There is a division in our government between the federal branch and the judicial branch. No judge in the judicial branch cannot tell me or the president how to conduct foreign policy. No judge can tell me how I have to outreach to a foreign partner or what I need to say to them. And if I do reach to that foreign partner and talk to them, I have under no obligation to share that with the judiciary branch. Just like a judge cannot order me to negotiate with a foreign minister of Russia, they cannot order me to negotiate with a foreign minister or the president of El Salvador. And if I did negotiate with them, which we have responded to them, and we've told them we've had communications with the president of El Salvador, I am under no obligation under our division of powers in this country and to share with the judicial branch how I conducted diplomacy of the United States. It would actually be counterproductive. If I started sharing with courts, or frankly, with the media, my conversations with foreign leaders and all of their details, no foreign leader would talk to me again.
Makes sense to me.
Yep. 100%.
And we would break trust with them. So I have complied with every court order. What I won't comply with is an order to disclose what I'm saying and what we're talking about with a foreign leader, because then they won't talk to me. Diplomacy doesn't work that way. About the student visas, let me say this. I don't deport anybody, and I don't snatch anybody. The State Department does not have officers in the street snatching everybody. What I do is revoke visas, and it's very simple. A visa is not a right. It is a privilege. People apply for student visas to come into the United States and study. And if you tell me that you're coming to the United States to lead campus crusades, to take over libraries and try to burn down buildings and acts of violence, we're not going to give you a visa.
Is that what Ms. Ostork did?
And this is a big point of contention, too, because they think anybody here on a visa for some reason can cause mayhem all they want. But no, he's right. A visa's a privilege.
Yeah, it's a privilege, yeah.
You know, you don't have the right to come in here and act a fool. And you're visiting, essentially. You're on a visa. You're here for a reason.
You're allowed to visit the country.
Yeah, doesn't mean you can go around breaking the law and causing civil unrest and mayhem, especially on these college campuses, which people are sending. I mean, they're spending a lot of money to go to these Ivy League schools and to send their kids for a good education, which I don't think you're going to get anymore because I think, the liberal institutions have completely taken over these college campuses.
The economics is there. You're spending a lot of money on stuff, and then they're coming over here and doing what they would do with it. That's not acceptable. Again, privilege. Privileges can be taken away.
Well, it's a privilege, not a right.
We're not going to give you a visa.
Is that what she did? Come on, Mr. Secretary.
And every single one of these cases, the factors are different.
Senator,
the bottom line is, if you're coming here to stir up trouble on our campuses, we will deny you a visa. And if you have a
First
visa
Amendment
and we find you,
apply to
we'll
people
revoke
living
it.
in the United States?
And we're going to do more. There are more coming. We're going to continue to revoke the visas of people who are here as guests and are disrupting our higher education facilities. People are paying money. These kids pay money to go to school, and they have to walk through a bunch of lunatics who are here on student visas.
Disrupting the foreign policy of the United States.
I want to do more. I hope we can find more of these people.
That's pathetic, Mr.
In fact,
Secretary.
the other day, some guys led a riot. I forgot what university it was, and I asked, please, can you find the arrest records of all
the entire contradiction here, it's pathetic that he doesn't want people here on visas to be disrupting how a college should function. And meanwhile, this guy is going down to El Salvador to have margaritas with gang members. And somehow Marco Rubio here, on taxpayers' money, and Marco Rubio is somehow the one in the wrong. Like, I don't understand this. And as we just saw from that clip with Tim Kaine, it's not that their heart bleeds for all immigrants. That's not it, because clearly the 60 South Africans who came here, no, they have no right to come here, even if if their farms are getting seized and they are at risk of apartheid and genocide. They have no right to come here. They can't skip the line, even though really they've already been vetted to come in. But for some reason, anybody who was coming here, and his best friend Kilmar Abrego Garcia can come here. I mean, he's caught trafficking people across state lines. He's obviously abusing his wife. But beyond all that, he's here illegally and he's associated with a gang. But we need to invest so much time and energy into this guy that we have to have. I mean, it wasn't just him. There was another senator, I think, or another representative that went down and had to see this guy too. I forget what her name was, but she says she's not leaving El Salvador until he's freed. I said, good, stay there. Why don't come back?
We'll elect someone else.
the people that were arrested at that riot at that campus, because if any of them have a visa, we're going to revoke
I
it.
feel so much safer
All right,
when you lock up people like Ms. Osterg, Ms. Secretary.
We've had enough time on the subject. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So I think the main point to take away here is I think Marco Rubio handled this with a lot of class. I think, he's saying, I think he's saying and he's doing the will of the American people. And I think, these people like Van Hollen and, Tim Kaine.
They had a very good stance, a very good argument.
They're living in the wrong administration, I guess. I would say they're living in the wrong decade, the wrong century. But people are just tired of this. Why you can't? One, we got to get all these illegals out, especially the violent ones. And two, you can't come in here on a visa and then act, be disrupting college,
Until we no longer see news about somebody illegal from another country in our country committing a crime, the problem's not gone.
Oh, I don't know if that'll ever happen, but
well, until that isn't a thing of everyday news, the problem's not gone.
But like I said,
we need to make steps to do something. We can't just keep allowing it.
I wasn't so sure on Marco Rubio, but I think so far, he's doing a fantastic job as Secretary of State. I think Trump was right to appoint him. And I hope, honestly, if he keeps doing what he says he's going to do, anyone, get him out of here. But that will be the end of that segment, friends. Again, if you like that segment, leave a comment down below. Leave a like on the video. Share it out to your friends, your enemies.
Let us know how stern you think our administration should be, our current administration should be, when it comes to immigration and visas.
All right, well, we are moving on to our last topic here, which is campaign promises. Made, campaign promises kept. Trump ran on this. I'm sure some of you remember that a big thing for Trump was running on this no tax on tips. And this is a pretty historic win. The Senate has passed President Trump's No Tax on Tips Act 100-0 vote. Promises made, promises kept. So I'd like to congratulate President Trump for pushing this through. I'd like to, and also all the Republicans and the Democrats, because obviously this is something that was completely uniform, and everyone said, no, that's totally fine. No tax on tips. Which I 100% agree with.
Yeah.
Oh, we're just going to go back a little bit here, and we're going to see. I mean, Trump said this in many. This is just one of the speeches he said it in, or one of his rallies that he said.
Tax on tips. Okay,
so loud. I'm sorry.
Done. And we need to spread the word so that every time you leave a tip for the next 5 months, you put on the receipt. Vote for Trump because there's no tax on tips.
And yeah, this did happen quite a lot. I mean, this blew up all over social media. Vote Trump, no tax on tips, which is a pretty good campaign slogan if you think about how many people are,
Oh my God, yeah.
Are in the service industry, anywhere, hotels, restaurants. And a lot of people said, I thought this was one of his better campaign moments. So here is President Trump. He's actually signing this into law. This is a real quick clip.
No tax on tips.
No tax on tips. Hey, and he came through. He did it. I got a couple more things. We're going to have Ted Cruz over here. He's explaining about the no tax on tips thing and says, it unanimously passed, which is super rare for our government. That almost never, ever happens.
Realistically, why are we doing this? Why are we saying we should be taxing this?
Yeah, there's unanimous things that should.
There was no logical reason, so good.
Well, there should. Let's see if we get term limits on Congress. That would be the next thing I want. But
I would love that one. Yeah, I don't know about that.
What we just saw is the Senate passing no tax on tips 100-0. Every Democrat voted yes. Every Republican voted yes. And by the way, the backstory, just kind of pulling the curtain back on how this process operates. The way the process operates is when you're seeking to pass something by unanimous consent, you circulate what's called a hotline, and every senator gets the chance to say, are you going to object? And on the Republican side, every senator said, nope, good by me. And on the Democrat side, Every senator said, nope, good by me. And so this is now passed, and we are
Pretty
sending
historic.
it to the House of Representatives. Here's the good news. With what we just saw now, the certainty that we will see no tax on tips become the law of the land, I think is very close to 100%. As the senator from Nevada mentioned, it is included in the House's One Big Beautiful Bill, and whether it passes freestanding or as part of the bigger bill, one way or another, no tax on tips is going to become law and give real relief to hardworking Americans. So I'm proud of what the Senate just did, and I commend Democrats and Republicans, even in a time of partisan division, coming together and agreeing on this common sense policy. I think that's terrific for workers in all 50 states.
I agree with Ted Cruz.
Common sense policy. Agreed. Perfect term.
Let's see, I think I got one more clip here. No tax on tips. On this tax day, let's remind Congress of what Americans voted for. No tax on tips, no tax on senior Social Security, no tax on overtime pay, renew Trump's middle-class tax cuts, lower taxes for America's small businesses and corporations. Also, I would like to see property tax gone. I don't think you should pay property tax. That should be another thing. You shouldn't have to rent the land. You shouldn't have to rent the land that you own for the rest of your life and the rest of your children's lives and their children's lives or anything like that.
So these are the tax priorities of the Trump administration that the president has laid out for members in that meeting today. No tax on tips, which is obviously a very public campaign promise that the president made. No tax on seniors' Social Security. No tax on overtime pay.
Yep, that sounds
Renewing
good.
President Trump's 2017 middle-class tax cuts. Again, these are the president's priorities. Adjusting the SALT cap, eliminate all the special tax breaks for billionaire sports team owners, close the carried interest tax deduction loophole, tax cuts for Made in America products. This will be the largest tax cut in history for middle-class working Americans. The president is committed to working with Congress to get this done. So these.
So when we saw the first one, it's going through. It's got to go to the representatives yet, but I mean, I agree with Ted Cruz. If it's 100-0, it seems like it's not a partisan issue. So I think it's going to go through, and hopefully it does, and hopefully that's just the beginning. Also, add property tax onto there, please. Get rid of property tax. So
Not gonna hold my breath, but yes, I agree. I wish.
Senate unexpectedly passes the No Tax on Tips Act in a unanimous vote. Senator Jackie Rosen, Democrat from Nevada, called up the bipartisan bill for immediate passage, and no senator objected. The measure now goes to the House. In a surprise move, the Republican-led Senate quickly passed the No Tax on Tips Act on Tuesday, giving its official stamp of approval to an idea that has gained traction since President Donald Trump campaigned on it last year. And I think it's gained. I mean, why would it be unpopular? What would be unpopular about this? I don't think anything. Like, who's going to object to it, really? I mean, I guess maybe. I don't know. I don't think anybody
The
would.
IRS.
No, the IRS. Yeah, I'm sure they.
The IRS. That's about it.
I guess that's about it. The legislation would create a tax deduction worth up to $25,000 for tips, limited to cash tips that workers report to employers for withholding purposes on payroll taxes. The tax rate would also be restricted to employees who earn $160,000 or less in 2025, an amount that will rise with inflation in coming years. Well, I don't know. I don't think many people in the service industry are making more than $160,000 a year. Wouldn't say. But
I'm sure there's a percentage, but I wouldn't say it's a high
it can't be a very high percentage. It was introduced in January by Senator Ted Cruz, a Republican from Texas, and a bipartisan group of co-sponsors, including Nevada's two Democratic senators, Jackie Rosen and Catherine Cortez Masto. Rosen brought the bill up in the Senate for a unanimous consent request Tuesday, which means any senator can block it. The process is typically used for more mundane matters, and bills are routinely called up and thwarted by objections. Consequential tax bills usually follow a more complex process, but none of the 99 other senators objected to Rosen's proposition, which led to the legislation's passing. Nevada, quote, Nevada has more tipped workers per capita than any other state. That's probably with Vegas, that's true. So this bill would mean immediate financial relief for countless hardworking families, Rosen said. No tax on tips was one of the President Trump's key promises to the American people, which he unveiled in my state of Nevada. And I'm not afraid to embrace a good idea wherever it comes from, unquote. The legislation follows through on proposals on the campaign trail last year. We already know that. At best, critics say eliminating taxes on tips would be a marginal victory for hourly workers, many of whom don't make enough to pay federal income taxes anyway. Some also warn the change could incentivize employers to reclassify wages as tips for tax savings. At worst, they say the proposal reinforces a two-tiered pay system that they're pushing to eliminate and replace with higher universal pay floors with tips on top. That broader battle is nowhere near over, as last seen in a deal reached by Michigan lawmakers in March, which left intact a sub-minimum wage, allowing employers to pay less than the state's ordinary base, so long as tips make up the difference. I mean, there's always going to be issues with something like this. And there's always going to be some employers who are going to try to exploit it and get around it. There's always loopholes in the system.
Under the table jobs.
But I'm not going
to always be around.
I don't know. I don't think I'm going to go through.
Marked as tips. No.
Oh,
especially if you could just change the category of payment from actual pay to tips. Like, that's a big loophole. I see a lot of companies taking advantage of that.
Oh, I'm sure they would. I remember when Obamacare passed, and I was, as a kid working at McDonald's, and that was one of the main things. Oh, well, if you work more than 30 hours, then you have to provide. Well, what do they do? I mean, they just cut everybody's hours to 29.
Yep.
It's like, it's not.
That's all they do.
But we'll see how this goes. I mean, there might be adverse repercussions from it, but I mean, so far, I think it's good for workers, and that'll be on exploitative bosses. And if that happens, I'm sure it will some places, but hopefully not in a lot of places. But, that pretty much wraps up this segment. The no tax on tips is, not a huge thing, but Trump did make a campaign promise, and he's fulfilling his campaign promises, which is good. And I think a lot of people will, especially people, in those industries, will have a lot of confidence going forward that, hey, Trump is really working for the people. So far, I don't want to, ride his nuts too hard, but I think Trump's been doing a great job so far. I mean,
I'll celebrate any good moves, behaviors, acknowledge anything I value as beneficial to society, no matter what side of the coin it comes from.
I think it's just nice to have a president again, personally.
Not just an auto pen.
Yeah, not just auto pen. All right, and well, that's about going to do it for our show.
Let's not forget Lilo and Stitch on Friday.
Oh yeah, I always try to have an end thing up. I didn't know what to put up, so I just put up a Lilo and Stitch. I'm gonna go see it Friday. Just a little reminder. I'll probably do a review of it on Monday or something. I'm gonna take my daughter. But yeah, that's that's pretty much it for the episode. Again, leave a comment down below. Leave a like on the video if you liked it. Share it out with your friends if you feel like it. And thank you for tuning in to the Duke and Dutch Show.
Yeah, let us know what you thought. Have a good day, man. Thanks for joining us.
Yep, thank you, everybody. We will catch you on Friday.